What's up, Landon?
What's up, Kris?
We're talking Jefferson County today.
Love Jefferson County. Let's go.
Home of the Trojans, baby.
Home of the Rigby Trojans.
That's right.
I won't tell you how I really feel about the Rigby Trojans.
Yeah?
We got a history.
Really?
We can talk about that another
You're
day.
a Hillcrest Knight, right?
Well, I was a Blackfoot Bronco before I was a Hillcrest Knight.
Oh.
So, yeah, we have a history. It was not great for us.
You were on the receiving end?
I was on the losing end of some battles with the Rigby Trojans.
Well,
Took a state title away that was
really?
supposed to be ours.
State?
Yeah, they were our nemesis.
Was it a close game?
And everyone, if anyone's watching this that was on that team, you know who you are.
You don't want to call anybody out by name?
I won't call them out by name, but they know who they are.
Okay.
And they got the best of us.
Well,
Tip of the cap.
you're talking basketball, right?
Basketball. Still
Okay.
hurts, though. Still hurts to this day.
That does.
Yep.
Uncle Rico effect, you know?
Exactly.
So, well, I got to give a shout out to the volleyball team. My daughter's playing up there.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Adams coaching.
Yeah.
Your Hillcrest Knights gave us a run the other night, but team's looking good.
They're bouncing back from that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So let's talk real estate.
Let's do it.
Instead of sports.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk sports. Dude, Jefferson County is strong right now. Really strong.
They've been killing it for quite some time.
They have.
Yeah, a lot of growth. Great place to raise families. So.
Yep. So right now we got 4 months supply of inventory. So overall as a market, we're going to jump into the grid view here, and we'll jump into different pricing categories. But that's feeling like a seller's market, although we are seeing concessions increase. There's 140 active properties. 79 days on market is the average days on market for the active. 55 of those are pending, and the pending ratio is 39%, which is it's about 10% higher than both Bingham and Bonneville County that we just looked at. So good movement there. For the sold properties, there's 112 that have sold in the last 3 months. 50 days on market is the average days on market for the sold properties, with 37 being sold per month, and they're selling at almost 99% of their list price. So again, that's reflecting a strong seller's market when you're getting that close to your list price. Although we are seeing some concessions, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Average price for sold properties in Jefferson County right now is about $413,000. That's over the last 3 months. Is that surprising to you, Landon?
Well, that's about $20,000 less than Bonneville County. Is that pretty typical for Jefferson County, or are they
It is.
lagging just a little bit behind?
Just a tad.
Because I feel like Jefferson County has really caught up over the 5 to 10 years that I've been in this marketplace. They were way behind.
Yeah,
It's an
they're getting
attractive
there.
market to be in and buy in and live in.
And I think it's reflective. Like, I think the only thing that's getting them in Bonneville County is volume, right? So when we looked at active properties in Bonneville, it was like 542. We got 140 here. So, but as far as value goes, yeah, I mean, they're catching up. You're seeing that.
Well, when we just went over Bingham County and you see 178 listings in Bingham County, which is, I would think, a smaller market.
Yep.
So it's no surprise. If you only have 140 active listings, then more of a seller's market. We'll talk about concessions, but yeah, strong.
And a great high school, even though they took your state championship. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the grid view. Grid view shows us individual smaller markets in there. And this is, I mean, it's a good view to look at, Landon. We're kind of seeing this under 500 market is really what's driving the overall numbers in each market. You talked a little bit about that's more to do with the median household income in the area.
Yeah, with our main employers and what they're able to pay people a good living wage, it's probably still behind from where our real estate market has gone. The affordability is still a struggle. And so when we talk about a cliff and a certain price range where it just drops off completely, it's because it's not affordable anymore after that price range. And so I'm not surprised to see this at all. This is what we primarily see when I'm doing a mortgage, is this price range as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we just looked at Bingham County, and this is a little stronger market as far as above 500.
Yeah.
You get to 500 to 700. There's a 4.5 month supply, 6 month supply here. Those were both 7 months in Bingham County, so. But this is 2.5 months supply of inventory below 500. That is really reflective of buyers. They're really understanding their markets. They're understanding what they're looking for. And we talked a little bit about this when we talked about Bonneville County. They're very picky, and they know the inventory. So if they haven't bought something right away, most of them that are active, they've already talked to a lender. they know the minute that that house that's priced right is exactly what they're looking for hits the market, and they're moving on it. And that's reflective in the average sold days, right? So it's 45 days on market for the sold properties. We're at 64 for active. So um, let's look at above a million. It's really interesting in Jefferson County, where we have one or two properties that are above a million. Their ceiling is kind of 8 to 900,000, and that's where we're seeing that's a 2-year supply of inventory and almost a year here. So again, it's reflective of that cliff. And if you're in this price range, Landon, you're in these areas. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, if I have to sell because I've received a job transfer or we're moving or whatever the life event happened that caused us to need to sell, that would be real frustrating
Mm-hmm.
to know that, man, I'm one of 7 to 13 listings. It probably will sit on the market for a year or two. What do I got to do to sell?
Mm.
And do I have to lower the price? How is that going to impact the overall market? I become a comparable for others. It's a tough dilemma to be in. One thing that I've noticed is the people that are buying in that price range are usually maybe a life event, new job, moving to the area. They've sold in another really strong market.
Mm.
They're bringing a ton of cash to the table, so it makes that mortgage payment manageable. They're bringing
Mm-hmm.
400,000 or 500,000 down, and that makes it doable.
One of the things I would tell people, and I list a lot of homes that are over $1 million, Landon, and it's important. This data is super important because you always want to price in front of the market. Pricing behind the market, and we hear this often when we go and we talk to people, and they're like, "Well, my neighbor down the road, sold theirs 6 months ago for this." Well, that market was so much different than the current market. And so if you are in these price ranges, and I think any price range right now, it's super important to be pricing in front of the market where it's going so that you don't find yourself as that stale or that stagnant
I've
inventory.
actually never heard it said that way, in front of the market. And so that is more like, hey, let's not price this where you think it should be and where you want it to sell. Let's look at the data and price it where it will sell. What's the psychology of somebody that's looking at listings that have price reductions or multiple price reductions? How does that impact the buyers that are looking at that listing?
It's not good,
Yeah.
right? We know that inventory that sits longer than the average days on market starts to get this stigma. And that's why us as realtors, most realtors are always trying to do things to refresh those listings. And if we are in that situation, we'll refresh pictures, we'll do different things to just try and get that stigma removed as much as possible. But, worst case scenario, I will rest a listing, is what I call it.
Mm,
And we'll withdraw it from the market for
for a
30
few.
to
Yeah.
45 days, get that buyer pool that's currently active and looking kind of flush through the system, and then reintroduce it to that new buyer pool. And sometimes that'll do it.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Interesting.
but Jefferson County, you guys are killing it right now. This is a really strong market. There's a lot of growth going on out there right now. Seller concessions, like we talked about, are pretty heavy right now. So one of the things, and I'm going to ask Landon this, if there's a buyer out there that's thinking about getting into this market, they've been waiting on interest rates, what would you tell them?
Well, this is what I do tell them. I tell them, like, if you can and you can make it work and it's not too uncomfortable, you really should buy a home right now. The sellers are going to concede a little bit, whether that's in price or paying your closing costs, or we have things like a temporary 2-1 buy down where they'll pay to temporarily buy down your rate for a point or two. You can get concessions right now, so you can buy at maybe a little lower price, get some concessions. Where if you're waiting for rates to come down, with the thousands of other buyers sitting on the fence, when that happens and everyone comes in together, now we're having multiple offer situations, bidding wars, auction style. We've been there.
Yeah,
We
we
lived
have.
through that during COVID. It's not a fun environment to operate in. Buyers were thrilled with their interest rate. They were devastated by the process, the buying process, and how, I've lost out on
Competing.
5 straight homes, and now we're settling for this one because we're sick of, you know what I mean? And we
Yep.
just don't want to, if you can avoid buying in that environment, now is maybe a small window to do that.
Absolutely. And I think, you and I talked before we even started this recording, we're really close to that in some of these markets already.
Yeah.
A 2.4 month supply of inventory is not a lot.
No.
And so I do know that there are agents out there that have been in that situation, multiple offers. So buy right now, refi when they drop,
Yeah.
save yourself some money. So that's Jefferson County today. Appreciate Landon coming in. He's going to come in here at least once a month. We're going to do more of this, get you guys updates by county. But if you guys need a lender, give a call to Landon. And if you need a realtor, give me a call. Legacy Ranch Properties will get you taken care of.